If your world is tasting a little bland, and you feel like you're climbing the walls, and you're bored enough to smell your own socks, and distracted enough to play without the puck, don't plunge into despair or go off the deep end. Stick around for life's funniest moments. We got a real squirmy pup and skis that land up. A sand-loving tot and a gold medalist not. A cat running on unleaded and a boy who's hard-headed. All on life's funniest moments. Pencils down, it's playtime. This answers the question of what happens when you ignore the label that says, "Do not overinflate." But the nice part is now, they've got a flotation device for the whole resort. But don't be on top of that thing when it pops, or you'll take off into the sky like Dragonheart. I don't care what anyone says. Offshore drilling should really be left to the professionals. Though, one smart thing, if you're going to do something that makes you completely dizzy, it's better to stumble in the water. If you don't want to wind up like this, then you shouldn't stick your tongue out at a certain superhero who can sling web. Actually, it's a clever idea. The kid figures out since he can't stand up yet, he'll lick his way out. Seems hard to grasp how a cat could be mesmerized watching cars go round and round. But if you want to understand, ask any indie fan. He's a pioneer. And it may take years, but Blackie knows that one day his sport, itchball, will take off. Why does the dog love these little race sets? Because he can chase cars without getting off his rump. Look at that pooch chomping those bubbles. He doesn't miss a one. Well, this proves it. There is nothing a dog won't eat. We don't know what laundry soap this boy's mom is using. But she needs to do something about static cling. Lots of kids want toys for Christmas, but Billy would be happy with a stepladder. The truth is, he doesn't mind that his room is small or hard to get to. He just wishes he didn't have to share it with his little brother. He might not be the best singer in the chorus, but no one could hit those low notes like Peter. Cover your ears and smile. It's life's funniest moments unplugged. They say young people don't want to get married as quickly anymore. And there's no better proof than a bouquet that gets thrown back. The truth is, the bride's a real prankster, and the bouncing rubber bouquet is one of the oldest bridesmaid tricks in the book. Why is this cat sitting on this kiddie ride? Because there's a kid sitting in his litter box building sandcastles. That baby wants some cake and he's gonna dig right in. And then some. And some more for good measure. At this point, we know what you're wondering. What's the point of the bib? This kid can't believe it. He just discovered that clothes going down to the laundry room aren't as fresh as the ones coming up. But dirty socks are very efficient because after the odor knocks you out, you can use it as a smelling salt to wake you back up. Now it's clear why their vow said, "You may now hose down the bride." This baby's about to get a surprise gift. It's called My First Headache. Come on, guys, we can do it. 2 more in the bowl and it's a world record. Hockey is a simple game, but there's one thing you have to remember if you're going to win. The puck. Coming up, horseplay leads to Ben Gay. And even the bunny slope can be unlucky. Yep. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments. Look out, squirrels. These next clips are about cats and dogs. We still don't know. Is this an episode of So You Think You Can Dance? When animals go wild, or bizarre mysteries? It was a fair mistake. Aunt Sheila and the dog both are fans of Bacon of the Month Club. This This may seem random, but the cat is actually tapping out a signal in Morse code. Listen. Kitty, door broken. Stop watching football. Open garage. For those of you who don't think cats are really, really lazy, this is their idea of helping with the laundry. Why, partner, this here clip shows why little Mikey grows up to be an accountant. Put on your boots and a smile, and let's go outside. It's great to have your pooch with you in 20-degree weather and 4 feet of snow. Although the dog is wondering if he can change his friendship status from man's best to fair weather. And now the boy climbs on top, and darn, it collapses. Don't want to say who booby-trapped it, but let's just say his tail is thumping. Now it's time for college prep questions. If a 125-pound woman dives off a 15-foot platform, how long will it take her to lose her grip and hit the water and make us laugh? A, 2 seconds. B, 4 seconds. C, who cares? That's hilarious. Wow, now this is an incredible doggy trick. Oh, not that the dog throws the garbage away, that he doesn't eat it first. Now this guy means business. And another mighty blow. Well, the goal was to get firewood, so who's complaining? This hidden videotape exposed Pringle's deep, dark secret to the rest of the world. He liked taking baths. Maybe, now that he thought about it. Pete would wait until after the camping trip to propose to Juanita. Watching them perform, you wouldn't think these athletes were the best. But no one could beat them at intramural tumbling, flailing, and skidding. Sherry's friend promised her that they would have time on their vacation for both water skiing and dance class. And it doesn't look like that's going to be possible. Whoops, so dismount into a beautiful plie. Well, looks like I spoke too soon. And welcome back to the 23rd Annual Winter Games, where the Austrian Hans Vossler will attempt a freestyle tumble flop into a mouthful of snow. And he nails it. Coming up, a young skater bangs his funny bone. And it's the real Tippy Canoe and Tyler, too. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments. We're not playing around. It's toys. In this update of the Jack and Jill story, the hill is a living room, and Jack breaks his bike instead of his crown, and the water pail is a juice box. But Jill still comes tumbling after. the beginning and end of Birdwell County's all-dog volunteer fire department. Look at that dog playing. Oh, he's not excited about catching the ball. The red pepper flakes from his lunch finally kicked in. You know why this guy's videotaped this scene?
What do you think?
To get on the show. And prove to his wife why he couldn't sweep the driveway. What do you say about a dog's bravery when he's scared of a porcelain dog? Best not to say anything. Malcolm's sport bike can handle any rocky terrain, as long as it isn't broken up into tiny, tiny rocks called sand. His dog Flip knows the family's supposed to be out for exercise. And if the bike isn't going to hold its own, then Flip is going to bust the bike's chops and bust them hard. You're watching a wife carrying contest. Here's the object. Don't do that. Don't strain yourself laughing. It's athletes. In this family of gymnasts, the boy has to do an iron cross if he wants to stay up past his bedtime to watch TV. And you thought your chores were tough having to empty the garbage. But the good news, he'll get extra tall and his parents can keep track of where he's hanging around. Now, this may seem like a silly strategy, but with a basketball hoop that's 8 feet off the ground, this was about the only way a little Patton can hope to win the game. Doesn't matter how big the ball was. Leroy was never going to get any good at hacky sack. This may seem strange, but it was the only effective way for Pedro to contact his home planet. This treadmill has 3 speeds: slow, medium, and gotcha, lousy cat. It's never a good sign when you get beaten at hockey, and the only player on the ice is you. But the fact is, Toby doesn't care how many times he falls, because at this point, his butt is so numb he doesn't feel it. When Frank and Julio came back from canoeing sopping wet, well, no one, and we mean no one, believed their excuse about being attacked by a great white whale. Coming up, a goalie who doesn't use his hands. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments.
We're gonna play a game of little short passes on one. Showdown almost. It's gonna be the first 1 to 5. Whistle scores by saving the ball, which is the net. And Michael gets a point by scoring the ball in the net. Let's go. First shot. Ready? Go. Oh, big save by Bristol. We got shot number 2 coming up.
The way this dog is playing, he can smell victory,
Oh.
but not much else.
Alright, let's do one Bristol. Done for Mikey. Shot number 3. Oh, he saved it again. Bristol's unstoppable, man. Go for it. Oh, point for Michael. Shot number 4. It's still 3 Bristol, 1 Michael now. Oh, off the post, which counts as risky. All right, Bristol needs 1 more point to win. Can you get it in to save it? Come on, you can do it. Go for it. Oh, and Bristol wins! Yes!
See you next time.